Just welcome to the show. My name is Boston, obviously, and can you kind of just introduce yourself
Yeah.
for the people listening?
David Combs, high school business teacher here, and then lucky to be able to do boys golf, some boys basketball, and girls golf now in the spring.
Yeah, sweet. So before you got your job is always what we're gonna be talking about, more the girls side of your head coaching. So the one you're currently in now, what initially got you hooked on golf?
Golf was something I did when I was a kid. I didn't specify in it. I just kind of played with buddies in the summer when I was a little guy and didn't really do anything. I kind of learned on my own in the backyard, and then in high school I had to pick. I grew up in Minnesota, so in Minnesota golf and baseball are spring sports. So I liked both of them a lot, and I ended up just kind of picking golf as a little bit more of an opportunity that I thought I could take advantage of and a passion. So I kind of ran with it, and then I went to college, and then I was planning on playing basketball. The goal was basketball in college, and it just so happened that at a Division III level that opportunities kind of present themselves, and I kind of just asked out of curiosity, what would it be like to play golf, and the seasons work around each other, and it started to become more and more of a passion and something that I've enjoyed. Besides the basketball realm, anything athletic's been fun, but I started to put my time and effort into it and love the game. And believe it or not, that was actually my first career when I got out of college in college technically, I started working for the Iowa Golf Association. And it kind of just put me around that sport so much more, and the people I've met and just the relationships I've built kind of made it a very unique opportunity. And I think it's such a great sport to be able to share with others, and it's by God the hardest sport I still have ever played to this day. I'm a good golfer, and there are plenty of people that kick my butt still, but I think it's something that I love sharing that passion with the kids, and so golf just became, again, continued extension of what I get to do. So it's a blast.
Yeah. So kind of coming out of college, initially, if I remember right, you didn't initially want to become a teacher.
Yeah,
to
no
give you the
desire
avenue.
to, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess first, just what was your job at the
Golf Association?
Yeah, golf
Yeah,
association.
so I graduated in the worst time possible because it was 2008, middle of the recession kind of thing.
Brutal.
So the opportunity came about. A teammate of mine was working for the Golf Association at the time, and he had told me to get into that realm, and I needed an internship. It's called the PJ Boatwright Junior Internship. PJ Boatwright was a member of the USGA for a long time and had a big promotion of just getting people involved in the game of golf in terms of the admin side of it. And so that's where the internship stemmed from. And it was one of the few at the time that was paid. There were so many of my friends that didn't have paid internships or things like that.
How'd they live?
You were a college kid, so you just survived. You just survived.
Ramen every day.
The only ones I remember that kids got paid for were accounting internships. Everything else was you got the experience, which you needed.
Yeah.
But just it wasn't incentivized as much as the pay. So it was paid. It gave me a chance to explore that sports and athletic world of the business environment, and it ended up just turning into a full-time gig, which I was so blessed in because so many of my graduating class didn't work in the careers that they needed, couldn't find jobs. That was an awful time for recent grads in 2008, 2009 kind of time frame. So I had a job. I loved what I did, and it gave me a chance to do everything. So once the internship was done in golf administration, you do everything from client relations, so to speak, working with the golf courses or members that are using the Golf Association services as a not-for-profit. You got to market. You got to see the financial side of it. You got to sit on board meetings and, just kind of figure out all these different parts of the business world, but it all revolved around a sport I loved. And, just to be around and to talk the game and to meet people and those types of things. One of the big projects I remember was I got to start putting together the Iowa Golf Hall of Fame. I remember that was kind of one of my first projects that I got to do and started to develop, and it started as an online only thing, and one of the executive director at the time, Bill Dickens, um, who's no longer the ED anymore, but he had a vision of building this like golf house where the golf association, like the superintendent's association, all these people could house it in the same spot, but also a place for the Hall of Fame to physically exist.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, a year and a half ago they finally were able to do it. It's done. It's down at Echo Valley in Norwalk, and they did a phenomenal job with it. So, some of the things that I can still be related to can kind of stem for some of the first pictures I found from old players that were first inducted to the Hall of Fame, and just some of the initial work was done as mine. So that kind of, I guess, maybe was a lot of background of just being around the game so much, and having a passion to still compete and be a part of it. But all of that then ultimately, in the time that we talked before, it kind of got me back into thinking about just being around teaching and coaching of how the impact I could make, and then that created the path back to, hey, you know what? I got let go from the Golf Association because there was no money, and the way that not-for-profit worked, and here I am today, 14 years later. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you kind of talked a little bit of that. Can you just explain, what was the decision? Did you want to stay involved with golf, and you just saw that as an avenue by teaching?
So I lost the job February, March, I think it was, in 2009. After being there for a couple of years, and I interviewed some places, like corporate places, like Principal Wells Fargo, did some job shadows, and I just said absolutely no way. There weren't too many golf and admin jobs, and I still like to play. I can play competitively, and if you do anything golf administration, you don't play. You just don't have the time to play. You administer golf, you don't play in events, and I didn't want to miss out on that a little bit. But that kind of winter, before I lost the job, I was doing some middle school coaching for Mike O'Connor, who's the assistant AD at Waukee. He was at Dowling as the head Dowling coach and was my assistant in college, and he had a middle school basketball program, and so I kind of kept in touch with him, and I tapped into him of if there was any coaching opportunities at Dowling, but there weren't, so I kind of started doing that, and I saw the impact I was making, and I found that was a great time for me to reflect too of what did I really enjoy doing, what did I want to put myself around, and that kind of got me back into thinking about, okay, you know what, you do make a difference, you have some pretty cool perks of the job and get to coach, and I liked doing what I did. I had a lot of background in all sorts of different realms of the business environment, and I thought, you know what, that could be a great thing to share with kids. And I didn't get a chance to take those classes, but found out pretty quickly that those classes were becoming more and more a part of schools. And I said, you know what, this sounds about right. So that kind of started the path after those experiences of learning from not what I wanted to do and knowing that those were not my paths to figuring out something that I loved and had a passion for.
Yeah. So eventually you kind of ended up in the teaching world, and initially you started at Woodward Granger.
Yep.
Can you kind of just talk about a little bit? Obviously that was the boy side, but it was kind of your beginning and was it your very first time?
No, so I actually
teaching golf.
That was my first time coaching golf.
Sorry,
yeah,
not teaching.
So at the lower levels in Iowa, everybody but 4A boys is in the spring, and at Woodward Granger, the first year I was there, I had asked about it, but there was a guy that was currently the coach. So I just asked to volunteer with them in terms of just being around when I could and available. I was coaching basketball there, so I had a sport, so that was great, but I kind of wanted just to keep getting involved and getting to know the kids in the school and the district. And it so happened that at the end of the year, Tom Freilich, who was the coach at the time, told me that he was going to be done. So I just kind of made the pursuit pretty quickly of saying, hey, I would like to take over to the AD there at the time. And then because boys and girls are the same, it was at the same time, so I kind of oversaw both of those. So I was the boys and girls coach at Woodward Granger for 9 years of the 10 that I was there for. So it was great because it gave me a chance to have my own program and figure out what it took to build and grow it.
Were both those programs at the same time?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, obviously, get into this a little bit. How did you manage both the programs at the same time? Like,
Yeah.
I was probably wasn't as many as like at least now with the girls team. There's like 40-ish people on the team, which is
Yeah.
by the way is crazy
Yeah,
considering
it's
like
pretty cool.
some of the numbers. But like over like how would you manage both teams? Because obviously now you're
Yeah.
head coach of both.
You know, it was
one
different.
girl, one
Yeah,
boys.
from just as simple as from skill levels to personalities to how you have to coach them. It was very unique. It honestly kind of made it fun because there was so much learning and differentiation that had to be done with those kids. There was some times that school didn't really have any recent history of great golf. They had some really good teams. I think it was like the early 2000s or something like that. They had some teams go to the state tournament and had some really good finishes. I think I'm trying to remember now. I know they won it. Like Tracy Vest, who's an Iowa PGA professional, had a couple other guys that went there that had some good success. And I can't remember what years they won the state tournament now that I think about it. But they had some good years, and then it just hadn't been. And a lot of times it just, are you exposed to it as a kid? Is there family that plays it? Those types of things. So I would say my numbers weren't great early on. I think I had smaller school, of course, but I think I had my first year, especially with the girls side, I think I had like 5 girls come out for golf. And you technically can play 6 and score 4.
Yeah.
So, there wasn't a ton of interest. And I wanted to help encourage and support the growth of the game. And that comes from not only just promoting it, but creating an environment that kids want to be a part of and hopefully showing kids that it's an awesome opportunity and something fun to do. The boys had probably about 16 to 18, I think, in that first year that I had it. And we just kept working at it. It ended up being, I think, the first year with the boys. In the lower levels, you have to get through 2 rounds of like playoffs to advance. There's like a sectional or district level for the boys, and then you get to the districts. And then for the girls, there's like a regional level, and you get to the districts. So you have to advance through 2 events.
Yeah. Is it just like top 2 or like just?
Yeah, top 2 teams in those 2 were able to move on. So it was really cool. That first year I took over, we had some guys that were pretty decent, and we kept getting better, and we won our sectional, and then we lost in our district meet. Or what did we take? We took 3rd, I think, in our district meet, which was 1 team short to go to the state tournament. And then, we were able to build something that we were competitive and consistent. We never made a state tournament as a team. I was able to take 1 individual one time for the boys. But we had numbers always increase. We always kept lowering school records and, individual records. And, people kept being a part of the program consistently and, played all 4 years and set precedent for other kids coming up and growing. And we were able to make the second round of the postseason quite a bit. Never kind of got over the hump, but, for the boys' side of it was great. And then I think what I was still most proud of was the girls' side of it. From starting with 5, we were, 120s on 18 holes, 130s on 18 holes. And I think the first year that I took it over, I had a couple girls, come out for like the very first time, never playing golf really before. And I think their first meet, we were at 5x80 Country Club in Menlo, Iowa for West Central Valley's meet. And it was like a 30-degree day with wind and rain.
Oh my gosh.
And I had somehow convinced those girls that it was worth it to keep playing. And, they bought into it, and they saw that I think I had a passion for it, and I wanted them to learn and challenge themselves. And before I left, I think we had gotten to, I think it was 21 girls out for golf the year I left Woodward Granger.
So if you were there for
I was there for 9 years. It took 9 years, but by that time, like my last couple, we were in the 15 to 20s.
That's incredible.
Each year. And I was really proud of that just when I came here, I think for the first year of golf here at Northwest, and I wasn't here for the girls program. I think there was like 20 or 21 girls just here at Northwest.
Yeah.
And with the numbers and the capacity, I was really proud of what we did there. We had gotten to the point
triple
where,
or quadruple the size.
Yeah, we had, a couple girls, or one girl made it to the state tournament. Sierra did, and then
I had some girls advance individually. We, I think the last year there, we actually like won our regional or whatever the first round was. We were one team out of going to the state tournament my last year there, and it was pretty awesome. It was pretty cool to see the passion that some of the girls kind of be able to lead on to the others. And that was what was really cool this year. We were able to create like you said, we had over 40 girls sign up for golf this year. And that was just really cool to see that there's an interest level in it, that it's a sport that they recognize that it's a cool sport. It's fun to be a part of. It's something that, again, it is brutally hard and difficult and challenging and will mentally kick your butt, especially for young people as they're learning the game. But to grow like we did, and then even to have the numbers, we have about 15 girls, I think, signed up on the 8th grade that the state allows 7th and 8th graders to practice, and we bring 8th graders out on Wednesdays to practice, which is really cool. And we had a huge interest level from there, and it's really fun. It's awesome. It's a logistical nightmare.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Yeah.
And we're working with the golf courses that we're able to use to try to balance it all out and make it happen so that, with the boys, we do have to cut just from the sheer number of size.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But
so hopefully we're able to keep being creative and incentivizing the growth of the game and the way that we hope it can continue to do so, and just remind them of how competitive it can be and how passionate you can develop into someone that just loves it. So it's been really cool. Been really good.
Yeah. So initially, when we came to Northwest, you were the boys' head coach, but not the girls' head coach yet.
Yep.
And then it took 2 years, right?
Yep.
2 years before it happened.
Yep.
So I was able to talk with some people before, from people who are currently on the team, and also some alumni.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to able to get the context and everything.
Yeah.
And one thing that I want you don't have to necessarily go into full details, but one of them said that what they really, really appreciated is before you took the job, you had conversations with a lot of them about taking the role. What were some of those conversations, and what did you want to figure out before you took that role?
I mean, honestly, I didn't care in terms of, it wasn't about the role. It was, I think the girls knew that when a job was done, they knew I wanted to do it. But even when Coach Coates had done so much for the school and the district and the golf programs here, it was something that even when he was coaching them, to me, there's always learning to do in golf, and I wanted to help that learning. So even when I saw the girls, even I didn't know them very well in the spring, if I saw them on the putting green or something, I thought I could support them and help them. I've always had a passion to do that, and I think that even when I came to the building, it hadn't been posted yet or whatnot, but I had told Mr. Dewey that I would, love to be a part of the girls program too. I didn't, until I knew about the boys' job, I didn't know I was going to get that either. But, just, again, I always loved being able to have that chance to get away from the classroom and teach outside of the classroom. And, those were ways that I could do so. And so, there's all the normal HR stuff you go through to post jobs and whatnot. But, I just made people aware of, Mr. Dewey knew that I wanted to do it, and I wanted to just keep learning about the girls and their love for the game or whatnot, of how they've experienced it, and wanted to make sure that I've created an experience that they can be competitive, that they can pursue what they want to in terms of the sport and their accomplishments, specifically together, not individually, because so much golf is seen individually. We see it on the PGA Tour or LPGA, we see it individually, but there's something that's really cool about being a team, and to hopefully create that mindset of what they were able to do, and just to get to know the girls too, because I didn't necessarily know them yet. I hadn't had too many in class, so I didn't really have much background into who I'd be a chance to get to coach. I would know what they're shooting, there's some scores, and pay attention and support, but I didn't know any of that. So, just to get to know the girls is a huge part of it, to know who's a part of what you want to have as a team, and how to just build around that and build what we had. So,
yeah, right. Great response. There's a whole bunch of things you said that we're going to dive a little bit into.
Sure.
But obviously you said that you wanted to be involved, but like what made you decide you want to take the step? Because boys and girls golf are at two different times, and to be honest, there's two completely different teams, and also you do basketball in the winter. Like what made you decide that you wanted to take on, especially a head coaching role on the girls' side?
I think the appeal is, again, to me, even though it's another spring or it's another sport or it's another time, coaching is coaching, and it's a chance to work with young people on those pursuits and endeavors. So that part's not different. The differences are is that, you deal with another group of personalities and you get to know them and you mold yourself to support that personality and that student and that time and talent. And with golf, it's always getting them to their best level. There's, like you would with other sports, you're trying to help them improve individually but improve as a team. And I think the appeal to that is always there for me. Again, it's a sport that I have a passion for, that I enjoy, and I want to share that with kids. And also that it's one of those things that golf is tough because there is individual aspects to teach and there's concepts and, individual training. But I feel like I was able to create things that introduces them to concepts and letting them experience and explore. Again, the blessing of my wife is always important. That's, if it's another season that I'm gone or otherwise. But yeah, I don't think it was a question of, should I do it or not? I think it was always just, if the opportunity presented itself, I think it's a great way for me to keep giving back to our community and our school of what we're trying to do as just an activities program as a whole, and hopefully creating the successful young people we send out of here, let alone the things we're trying to accomplish, in terms of the award and honors of, state tournaments and championships and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And so as of currently, you're the only coach who's coaching both sides, or as at least a double head coach in the sense. So you're the only person who's doing at Northwest, and I'm pretty sure even at Waukee, doing both the boys and the girls. Do you recall the moment at all, like when you officially got the role and you'd be kind of put into that position? Was it like?
I actually kind of liked it in the sense of I thought it made just the world simpler. It's two golf programs. It's two golf programs that is now just a golf program, and we just happen to compete in different times. From the ability to share resources to think of it as what's best for our programs. I think that made it to me simpler. It's the ability to recognize what you're trying to create in both are very similar objectives.
Is it easier to pitch for resources too, considering it's for both?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. We've been lucky. The Booster Club's been great to when the building first opened to that winter, the project of mine to build the golf room and to create that environment for kids. But then, I think it's just being willing to share the resources that we have, and it's not mine and it's not yours. It was something that, this year with the number of girls we have, I'm just using the boys' bags for half the girls and vice versa. You know what I mean? If I needed it the other way, the stuff that are out of the range that we use for some targets and whatnot. Again, that's not the boys, it's the golf program. So I think just to be able to say that, hey, this is just what we're doing as an entire program under the same roof is just easy and simplistic. It's not I don't have to ask for permission from the girls coach because I am the girls coach or the boys. It's kind of like, why wouldn't we be able to do this together? And I think that, creating that experience of we're just golfers and it's fun to be able to represent Northwest regardless of the fall or spring is fun to be able to do.
Yeah, do you think that especially there wasn't a ton of experience with it, but when you were just the boys coach versus just girls coach, you were combined over the whole program, do you think it makes it so much easier just to manage the programs or just the program itself compared to having to go through the red tape or anything like that of having
it
both?
Just helps. There's the influences that I can have on the kids to the conversations that I can have with kids, that I can reach everybody in the same context is kind of nice and easy. It wasn't new to me because I had boys and girls at the same time, which was even maybe more of a logistical nightmare because
I can't even imagine. I
you
don't
know,
want to think
going
about it.
girls have to meet there and boys have to meet here. It kind of, again, it brought it back full circle of knowing how to maybe manage both teams and both environments. Again, that managing the numbers is different from that capacity, but again, Booster Club, their activities department, you know, all of that's been a great support for what we're trying to do as a team because it's hard. We're a non-revenue generating sport.
Yeah.
We're an expensive sport, and to make sure that, you know, being intelligent with our resources, in terms of getting what we need or going where we need to go, I think to can be able to share some of that helps both of those programs significantly. Even though, again, to me, it's now one program.
Yeah.
It's just golf.
So going into kind of that first year, what was actually really fascinating to me when I was able to talk with some of the people is that year is very similar to the way our current girls volleyball and basketball teams are, where in the sense that they didn't have any seniors. When you look at both of our teams, girls basketball and volleyball, they don't have a single senior, at least from this previous season. So like you walked in to a team that you're keeping everyone, the dynamics are the same. Like what was that very first year like, and just in general, like like walking into that room where everyone already knew each other. There's new faces, but at the same time, like there's no one leaving. There's no dynamic changes.
Yeah, you know, I think I was very blessed because they're the three seniors that I had with Hannah and Amelia and Chloe. Last year was just phenomenal. I had three extraordinary young women that were mature, that had been through all of their experiences of challenges at the state tournament or getting there and accomplishing what they did already. Then they had a good amount of success, right? They had, 2 years of the state tournament as a new program, and they had really good golfers and that sort of thing. So I was lucky. I think I fell into something where I had a great group of girls that I just got to blend into. I didn't necessarily have to do anything crazy. They took me in as their coach, and I think they got to know me, and I got to be myself, and I got to support them on that part of their journey. And so I think I would give all the credit to them because of just accepting, me of being a part of that team. And again, that shared experience is so special. And I think it just, I would say that, again, I was blessed being a part of that more than anything. I think that it gave me a chance to share my quirks and personality with them, and I was very blessed that they took upon that and responded very positively to how I did things, and I was again very lucky to do so.
Yeah, like initially at the beginning where you're going back to coaching girls again, because obviously it was 3-4 years since you previously had done that.
Yep.
Like, was there any growing pains at all going back, or was it kind of feel like you just got right back into your rhythm at all? Like, was it weird going from, because you're coaching only boys for 2 years?
I don't know. That's a great question. Honestly, I don't remember anything like standing out of being to the point where I was like, oh, I got to do this differently. They're still the teenagers and young people that I have worked with my career now, and they're unique individuals and uniquely a team, and I don't think I modified anything in the sense of how I approached it. I think the teaching or the learning or some of the things that I needed to bring to the table for them were just because that's what they maybe needed. It wasn't anything that I would have done differently with the boys and the girls necessarily, because they're all, again, from the golf perspective, trying to put a ball in the hole, just from a different place and a different set of skills and attributes that make their games just different. They don't hit the ball as far. Okay, so how do I adapt to that? How have they chosen to play before? I have to just learn to adapt to that kind of stuff of just the play of the game, more so than how, what way did I instruct it? Because that's always part of the coaching process anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't think I remember really doing anything differently. I feel like I just tried to engage or interact with their personalities and their uniqueness as a team, just like what I would with the groups of boys that I've had coaching all along since the building opened. So
Yeah. So technically on paper there is a few differences between the two programs. The biggest one, I think like probably one of the only ones, is you don't cut. And I want to I want you to try to explain, because I can't even imagine how you do it.
Yeah.
Considering you also have one assistant, that the roster size is roughly 40.
Yep.
And with the boy size you can cut. So I don't know how big
Yeah.
the roster size is for that. But also just like having a roster that big, obviously that's wonderful compared to Waukee, which I think has roughly 19-ish players on their team.
I don't
which
know
is-
their numbers for sure, but yeah.
Super small compared to like the
Yeah.
Northwest numbers. So like having a roster that big, like how do you manage that?
Yeah, this has been, without question, an interesting challenge, just with the space that we're allowed at Sugar and trying to find those opportunities. I didn't expect it to grow to what it did. I knew it would grow. At least I hoped it would. But I was assuming probably like low 30s, something like that, gain a few more here or there. And so when it came to be that after I sent out signups and whatnot, that the amount was that high, I hadn't made any suggestions that I would have cut. And it'd be really hard because it'd be hard to play and see. So
Is that number including 8th graders or no?
No, that does not include it.
Oh my, Wednesdays must be crazy.
So, it's one of those things that I think I was just ecstatic about the numbers, and I said I'll figure it out because, especially with girls golf in the state, when you look at the big state competitions like the women's state am or the women's match play, or even like the junior girl events, the Iowa Junior or some of the junior PGA stuff, just the numbers and the quantity of girls that are out there willing to compete is just low. And to see the interest was just awesome. And I don't want to take away that interest. I know at some point, is it a possibility? Yeah, just the sheer space at a golf course that shares us and Waukegan is willing to do that, but they still have to make money as a public entity. To finding places to play and make it all work was interesting. So the general way that I have tried to figure this out is to do as much of like different groupings as I can. But for let's say a traditional practice day, the freshmen get done with school earlier. So the freshman group I've been able to kind of keep together, and they start practice. I get them organized. We get going with what our objectives are for the day, whether it's drills or independent work or the things that we're doing. They get going. I would call them we call them our competitive group. I couldn't think of any better names for the moment. This would be kind of like the varsity type of player, the player that's proven themselves, people that are on the cusp of maybe getting to that point, shown some progress of prior knowledge and those types of things. They then come out. I get them going on their start of their practices, because Sugar's trying to limit us to about 25-ish at a time at the golf course. So then they get going on their stuff. So then Coach Peck and I, who's been great in helping me try to navigate all this, she'll kind of hover and back and forth with different groups and whatnot. And then when the freshmen get done, after about their hour or so that we can kind of get them in, then I have the third group come. And then another group is, again, kind of following, again, a pattern of what we've organized and controlled for practice. So that's if we're not on the course. If we're on the course, we have a little more flexibility, but then I'll send, some groups out will play. If we play 9 holes, great. If we do some different objective things on the course, that's great. Sometimes they'll play 5 or do other things on 5 of the holes, stop, and then I'll send the groups to finish out the 9. So there's some of that going on. It's just kind of a collective organized chaos, as many people call it. It's worked out so far. I think you'd have to talk to the players of how it's going. I'm going to be very interested in seeing their reactions to how it went, because it's hard, because you got to give support to the kids that are coming out for the very first time have never played golf before, except maybe going to a driving range once or twice.
Yeah.
And then you have the girls that are, like Lola and Hannah, that are going to play collegiate golf and, want to keep getting to that next level of their game and, everywhere in between. And so, that dynamic, I think, is something that I'm going to reflect on a lot. How am I designating my time to make sure we're competing as we should be for the things that we're trying to accomplish as a program, and also encouraging people to learn the game and to play the game and to have experiences that they want to continue that as they go forward. So that's been the challenging part of it, I think, more than anything, is how I make sure that the time is allocated appropriately and supportively of all levels, but also to make sure I'm doing my job as we are competing for some high level things. And again, they want that, and I got to make sure I'm giving them that time of what they're there for.
Yeah. Do you think Sugar will be the people who will limit you to the point where you'll have to get a cut?
Any golf course is going to. I mean, they have to. They, from a logistical business standpoint, and it's my background, and you got to make money. And so when you're giving somewhat of a discount or giving access to people that aren't going to rent carts, that aren't going to buy food and beverages and all those types of things, they're missing out on those chances. And so we are up to somewhat of the limitations of the golf course. That's another thing. Whenever that place gets remodeled, when they finish all their development projects, I mean, we could be out of the golf course for 2 years, 3 years, because that's ultimately the plan, is to remodel it.
Where do you compete then?
And so that's a thing I'm trying to, maybe have some conversations earlier on. And I don't know when that is. That's down the line. I mean, that's up to the city, how they progress with those things. But we are up to their kind of expectations of how many kids can we have, what access do we get for tee times and the like. And so far we've been very supported by River Valley to have us over there for the girls and have a JV meet there. Mr. Manning and the Manning family at the Legacy to host our invite still, and be able to reach out to other places have been good. But yeah, I mean, there is a point where it's still up to them, because unless there's some nice people that want to build us a Northwest golf course, I'll be all for it. But I don't think that that's happening
anytime soon. Yeah. When it comes to distance sugar and this about the course, is it included? Are you practicing also with the Waukee girls at the same time?
Yep. So the Waukee girls are out there at the same time we are.
Do you have to coordinate at all, or no?
A little bit, yeah. With Marty over there, he's been around that program for a long time and does a great job with them. And he's always more than willing to have conversations. And we work with Danae at Sugar to make sure that we use spaces appropriately so that public has still access. You try to take up a segment of the practice green. I'll try to take up just half of the pitching area, or we'll take two slots at the range. He'll take 2 slots at the range. So it's just trying to just navigate that and just be cognizant we're all trying to help the girls learn the game and that sort of thing. So
yeah, one of the most fascinating things that I learned about the team, or just in general, is that, at least I think it was either this year or last year, I mean, you've only been here for 2 years, is that you started making some of the girls do yoga before all of the meets. Yeah, or not even just practices. What drew you to that decision? Because I know I contacted Jet. I was like, "Yo, Jet, do you guys do this before?" And he said no.
Yeah.
So is it something you started this year?
Something with the boys that, we'll start doing, as far as just making sure our bodies are better prepared. Coach P's done a good job with all of that body preparation before any competitive event, of making sure that you're doing things to get you ready to go. And the boys have done a pretty good job on their own, just doing their just individual stretching. So I kind of have let them run with it. And I think reflecting, I need to do a better job with them for some of that type of stuff. But last year, it was something, I think we were in the Suburban going to, I can't remember which event it was, but anytime I've ever been around girls golf before rounds, the pre-round warm-ups are awful. You watch girls, and most of the time they stand around and talk on the putting green. And I made sure to emphasize with that that's not how we're going to go about things and do things. And I getting to know the girls and knowing some of the people I've been around, whether it's coaching or just being a teacher, just the stretching and yoga has always been something that appeals to them. So I think they called it yoga. We did some yoga poses, I would suppose, but it was more about just getting your body right, and mentally getting ready along the same time. And it was great because we had our little inner jokes about it and whatnot, but we were the only team that would stretch before. We were the only team that did anything like with that purpose or that
to activate your body,
just to make sure that we were ready to go. Which, again, for whatever reason, in girls golf has always been the case that I've never seen people do that, because I think it's been too much of it's a social sport. I'm getting around with friends, and that's not my attitude. It's to compete and to make sure that you are mentally and physically ready to go. So that aspect was just something we had a blast with. It was fun. I do it with them. Some of the older coaches that see me, tell me they can't get in that position or stuff like that. And it just became something that, truthfully, I think they loved and enjoyed, and I think it just made them be ready to compete better, and it definitely did pay dividends. I think the girls that graduated last year, I think, recognized that, and I think the girls that we have this year and continuing to buy into that and continue to share that with their teammates of how valuable it is. They should hear it enough. Coach Pete tells them all the time, and every coach in any dynamic warm up that we do and those types of things. And sometimes we forget about that. As girls, you're an athlete and you need to have the same mindset going into it. So yes, the girls call it yoga, but I would say it's just a good stretching and dynamic warm up for them to get ready to go.
Yeah, is there any banded exercise at all?
No, so we don't take any bands.
Because that would be my guess on what you would do for your back or something like that.
Yeah,
because that's what you majority use when you golf,
there's
right?
a
Or
lot
your
of
legs
different
and
parts.
stuff.
So we've just things that I've done in my golfing career as pre-round warm-ups, I kind of just incorporated with them. We're not trying to be scientific masterminds with stretches, but just the simple movements that a golfer needs during a round and to activate those different parts of their body to do. Again, is no different than any other athlete that they're doing. So we're not necessarily taking bands with us in terms of the space, but it's making sure that we are activating each part of our body that is essential, learning from others, bringing in what they've done, and just making sure that as a team we're doing something consistently when we are getting ready to compete or at practice, and making sure that the team's in charge of that. The team has to be in charge of that. It can't be me telling them to do it. They have to understand that they're in charge of being in control, and by the middle of the season they knew we were going to stretch and they knew what we were going to do, and then this year it's continued to do that. So it's been fun. It's been fun to see them buy into the competitive aspect and not just the social aspect.
Yeah. So kind of going into one of the first years in the developmental parts of you building this program, and again in the talk with some of the people who are currently on the team and not, one thing that they really, really liked that they said, which was very interesting, you've talked about a little bit, is this level of mentality and intensity, and not necessarily intensity, but I don't want to say purpose either, but intentionality that you brought to practice, and almost level of seriousness, because you kind of said even that opening warm up kind of a deal. Did you recognize that going into it, or is it something that you discovered kind of in that first year and had to apply?
I don't know. I think it was just from the standpoint of my competitive mindset and learning again just from other great coaches I've had or been around, and knowing how intentful you have to be on what you do. And I think just I've seen too much of golf of people just go to the range and they just go to hit.
Yeah.
There's no focus of what they're doing to get better. You could go out there, hit balls for 4 hours, and you're not going to get any better. And we could go out for 45 minutes, do something with intent and purpose, and there's going to be improvement. That, yes, there is seriousness, and I think the girls know it for sure. We have a blast. I'm, again, very lucky to have the personalities that I do. But they know that when they're out there working on something that they need to have that focus objective. We can't just try to cover all our bases and do everything. You have to be so precise on the way you approach golf and the skills you're developing because of the difficulty of the sport. As simple as the concept is of ball into a hole, the execution of it from 1 degree here or there to the path of the swing to the wind just changed from 10 to 15 miles an hour to the green speed is this at this course, and then the next day you're at this course, and all the little nuances of it, that if you're not prepared to handle all of that, you're going to struggle mightily. And it has everything to do with the mind and how it's approached. And I think the girls have done a great job buying into that. And like anybody, it's hard, but I think they've recognized the value of, what am I doing? What's the purpose of it? Why is this being done? Where can I take that and approach it into a round? And I think that attributed to their significant growth as a team last year, like you said, when it was everybody coming back, where could you take it? And the girls just phenomenally knocked it out of the park last year in terms of that growth. And I think their mindsets had a lot to do with it and buying into what they needed to do to be successful.
Yeah. Previously, before you took over the program, they got 8th. And with no returning seniors, did you almost feel like some sense of pressure almost? Because, like, obviously all of them are going to improve to, like, get to a point that was, like, better than that placement? Or did you kind of feel as if it was just, like, it's my first year?
You know what?
Or did you not think about the result at all?
No, the thing with golf is that you are at the disposal of anything that you can control. It's a sport where you can't do anything to your competition. You can't play defense. You can't scout the opponent.
Hustle more or something.
You can't do any of that. The opponent is the golf course, and that's the only thing that we can control. We'd like to sometimes make the assumption, we do this as coaches or fans of programs. We're like, oh, they're young, they're going to keep getting better and better, and we make the assumption, well, you have to keep getting better, you have to keep improving, and kudos to them. They did, and they made it their emphasis to find ways to get better, and they ultimately did. I think it's the expectation to say we have to get this or have to get that is totally asinine in the sense that you have no idea what's going to happen on any given day on the golf course about how it's going to feel or how it's going to go. And you have to build the pieces to be as prepared as you possibly can be to perform, and you have very little control once that ball comes off the club of what ends up happening to it. The interesting things in golf can be so dramatic. So I think that the goal was to constantly grow, constantly improve, whether it was their mental state, their actual skill set. And that's my favorite thing to tell people. And again, I couldn't be prouder of what they did as a group, is that I think it was like back-to-back 8th place finishes or 7th place finishes. And it was the same 6 girls at the same golf course. And they told me it was essentially the same types of conditions, but they improved by 72 shots from the state tournament the year before to that last year's state tournament.
Oh my God!
And that was just phenomenal. Like, that was such an incredible accomplishment by those 6 young ladies to do what they did, and to put themselves almost to the point where 6 or 7 strokes from a state title, and not to just have 4 girls do it every day, but to share the wealth and have days where maybe you didn't play great that day, but Addie kicked it out of the park and shot 79 the second day, and then to have Lola do 81 the next day, and to have Amelia stick with it with 81s, and to do things that they hadn't done, and I think that they broke like the school scoring record like 7 or 8 times during the season. Like, just the sheer growth that they showed in such a short period of time is 100,000% such a cool thing to have seen. And to go to same course, same stuff 72 shots. I mean, that's an entire round of golf, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
That
So I
was
say, I was
pretty-
like, that's literally.
that's a round of golf. That's pretty cool. So I mean, as as runner-up state finishers, and have been lucky to be a part of our boys basketball program, and what Coach Watkins does with those two seasons of runner-ups to Valley, like, you're heartbroken and devastated, and that was the girls almost had the attitude of, again, because we can't control anything else but what we could do, and they accomplished
Everything
more
really
than I
could.
could have ever imagined for them in such a short period of time. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And that was the most joyous runner-up finish I have ever experienced in my life. Because, again, in golf, that's the only thing you can control is what you did on that course. And I don't think you could have asked much more of them. So,
Yeah. You kind of beat me to the punch here. Which is all fine and good. But I was going to ask you about it. Which one we have right here.
oh yeah, there you
Very
go.
first time.
Yep.
What do you think, like, just that placement meant for the program as a whole? And, like, when someone looks at the program now, especially someone really younger,
Yep.
to look at and see the success of all these people, and
Yeah.
two of these people who are going and playing collegiately, one of them D1,
Yeah.
like, what do you think that means?
Yeah, I just hope that they take pride in what they did. I mean, I hope that those 6 that played, and then even Allison being the alternate or whatever, and I hope they just remember that experience and what they did that entire spring as a group. It was something that doing it as a team is so unique. Seeing the individual competitors at a state tournament is, it's awesome. They individually accomplished something that is special and unique to what their growth and development was. But to go do things as a collective group was really, really cool. And I hope they just have those memories of what they accomplished that year, just as individuals, but as a team. And even the girls that are not on that trophy were a part of that, because they contributed to an environment of positive success and growth in the same capacity. Just because they didn't play on that team and weren't a part of that, they, to me, were just as much a part of that experience as anything, because that was part of the environment that they created together. And that they shared together and had fun practicing and competing against one another together. And so, yeah, I mean, I think with most programs, you can use that as a sense of motivation and accomplishment, and something that they were able to do. But ultimately, I think it's just that they should be proud of their successes and know that they're capable, and nothing is going to be given to them again. Just because some of those girls get to play again this year doesn't mean that something's guaranteed to them.
Yeah.
And that can be very much learned from the boys' experience from this past fall. Of as great as you can be in moments, you have to earn it. And they earned it. They absolutely did earn it last year. And I hope that's the mindset they take with them and pass on to all these younger girls that are coming out for the team, and are just encouraged by whatever it has been that encouraged them to come out and compete. That I hope they have those same mindsets that those 3 seniors started, and hopefully kind of bleeds down into the younger girls to know how valuable those habits and traits are. And so that was pretty fun to be able to do. I didn't realize it. If you don't ever see it at the bottom, they taught me
Yeah.
you're supposed to sign your names, I guess, to have that lasting little memory. So again, really cool. We're super proud of what they did and accomplished.
Is that like the other people on the team, or just all these people?
That was just the crew that was there. It would be cool to actually should have had everybody sign it, but that was just something we did that day. That again, it was a pretty fun experience, and they should be forever proud of what they did. And again, it created something that they can hopefully take with them beyond whatever the game of golf gave them.
Yeah. What do you think that, like, this team specifically had that was different than other teams that you've done in the past? Is it just like the mentality of that they had? And just,
I think they were able to.
because also with you might be able to tell this story a little bit too better, probably better than I can. But I think it was either the second day or the first day where you were tied with this other team. I can't remember exactly what the team was, but really, really close. And it came down to the fifth person,
yeah.
even though it's the top four,
Yeah.
which really shows the depth and how good this team was to
Yeah.
have that fifth person also be that dominant and that close, and also still have the mentality of like my score still matters.
Yeah, and that's
to help
hard.
get to that
Golf's
point.
hard, and that was something that I had sadly too many times or experienced in my time at Wilbur Granger that we missed out on things because of a fifth score or because of one stroke or those types of things.
Yeah.
And again, that was part of the mindset that they were able to grasp, is that regardless of how their day is going, the team is what's most important. And golf's too hard to have perfect days and to be good every day. And I think that they, without question, bought into that. And it, I think, was very proven. The second day of the state tournament, Cedar Rapids, Washington, and us, we tied. And our fifth individual score, that was the initial tiebreaker. Then it goes to the sixth score. And I can't remember what it goes to after that. I think it was like 15 or 16 strokes difference or whatever it was. It was pretty substantial. But I vividly remember, even from the girls that scored that day, Amelia Habgood's last hole as a competing senior, she put it to like 4 feet on the sixth hole, the par 3 at Otter, made birdie. We drove
crazy.
up, and we ran into Adeline, and Adeline was finishing her last day, and she knocked in like a 10-footer for par. Again, not knowing how anybody does on the course, not knowing the scores. Like, there's no live leaderboards unless you ask your coach, and as the girls will tell you and the boys will tell you, I never know how they're playing because I don't care, because that's only the thing that is controllable is what you do next.
Yeah, so, you're not reacting off a scoreboard.
It's none of that, because then you start to do different things with your mind. So I think even Hannah birdied her last hole. Like, we just finished. It was so cool. And then you get in and you tie, and then you know you did it because you finished, and you ultimately took care of what you could control, and they did.
Yeah. Kind of specifically was really weird about, not necessarily weird, but also like especially unique about golf, is that when people think of it, it's very much like, oh, an individual sport, versus, at least in the high school level, it's a team sport. Like, how have you helped, not necessarily shape, but like help certain athletes, especially high school athletes, understand that it's not necessarily about me the entire time. Yes, I want me to have the best score. I want myself to perform as best as possible. That's what I want. But also at the same time, like, making sure that it's also like for the team, and it's a team win. It's not like an individual.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's magic sauce. I don't know if there's a perfect solution. I think it's exposing them to and creating a focus on you're doing it together. You're competing against each other technically. At the same time, you're supporting one another. Reminding them that it's not just about asking when you see them on the course, how you doing? And they do a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's, hey, keep at it. We'll see when you're done. You know, that kind of thing. They learn my habits of never asking about what's been going on or what's their score. Being purposeful with that and not ignoring them. I mean, if they're feeling good about something, I'm going to encourage that same feeling. I'm going to encourage that growth. But I'm still going to then immediately talk to them about the next shot or the next circumstance or next situation because of the importance of what we do together. And just helping them experience that by trying to do drills that are team-based, or, I don't know, just trying to create as much of an environment about that as I can. And if you have that individual and with that team-focused mindset, I fully believe that you'll have a better individual focus and perspective, and I think it eliminates on the golf course for sure errors and choices that you make, and you make better decisions, and you make better efforts to hit the ball cleaner, to make the right decision instead of attacking a pin and short-sighting yourself, or, you know, just the execution of the game. I think it ultimately all dwindles down into the individual play anyway, and then the individual will be rewarded because of what you did together.
Yeah. Do you think that, like, especially like freshmen or younger, people, even seniors, like struggle with that idea? Do you have to like help them through it?
I think, yeah, any of us do. I think I have to remember that. I think a senior has to remember that. I think a freshman needs to learn that. I mean, there's so many things that we don't learn about until we get older and wiser, as they would call us, as we experience those things. But the more exposure you can have to them, the more they can learn from those experiences, the better off any athlete. You talk to most coaches, they're probably going to say that they're going to get and grow from, not just from a skill standpoint, but just the mental focus and attitude and mindset you have to create it, not just the skill piece. And anytime we can create that exposure for them, the better off we are. And I think you brought it up before when you're talking about like that competitive focus or that purpose and that intent. If you can help instill that in some person and create that, then I think it only helps them build the skills as a part of it.
Yeah, kind of looking at kind of this year, we're kind of in the thick of it, and this interview, which is filmed the Friday before it comes out, so the 18th. What are your insights on this team? Like, what are you seeing? Because obviously you graduated 3 people who performed really well and did at state. Like, what are you excited about this team? Like, what about this team?
I think it's just a continued team that's learning to do it together. Again, I'm blessed and lucky to have not just seniors who competed last year on the state tournament, but even just seniors and upperclassmen that have been a part of what we did last year collectively, saw benefits from it, and continue to have the right purpose and focus of loving the game, having fun with it, but knowing that there's an objective at hand too. I think that early on in our seasons that we're lighter on meets. We have a lot more like JV types of meets, but it gives an opportunity for a lot of the girls to compete and experience an opportunity and know how to handle something that doesn't go their way, to focus on the right areas of growth. Because again, just because they did it last year doesn't mean it's going to be good this year. Golf's unique in that, and you just don't become perfect in an area. You got to keep constantly finding. Sometimes you regress in an area, and all this stuff is special. So we've got a great group out again. We're starting at kind of where I felt we'd probably start, just for little kinks and things. I think a lot of girls did a great job getting in the sims in the wintertime when I open them up, and or using other places of activity to stay involved with golf. And we've done a good job with getting, honestly, I think all but like a couple of them have played in something this year already, which is awesome. We've been able to get everybody out into the meet, basically, as long as the scheduling that comes along with sometimes spring golf works, and other activities that girls are involved with. We've got a lot of girls that are trying to balance a lot of things of, dance and cheer to, even preseason softball workouts and all sorts of stuff that we're trying to...
Softball doesn't start forever.
It doesn't, but there's off season for workouts just like anybody else would. So trying to, again, balance all those little things. But I think we got a great group that, especially, I've been very impressed with the freshmen of just their enthusiasm for the game, and the joy of coming to practice, and continuing to build off of some things that maybe they've even witnessed or seen. But trying to help these girls, one, get to know each other a little bit. That's a lot of girls that you're trying to balance, from 4-year letter winners to people that have never played before and coming out as freshmen, not in the same building, but how do you create a team in an environment that they want to be there every day. So I'm looking forward to getting to some of the more of the varsity level competitions too, because I think it's going to push some of the girls that are on the cusp of getting into a lineup or not, of those top 6, that how are they going to compete? How are they going to handle a bad day? How am I going to handle knowing who to play and what's the best dynamic, and who can give us a number or not on any given day, and trying to find what that is, because ultimately we're judged by what happens at the end of the year for a success or not.
Yeah.
And I go back to the boys, and I wish it wasn't. Those guys had a phenomenal year, and many people will probably look back and go, hey, you didn't make it to state in 2024? No, we didn't. we had an unbelievable year. I mean, truthfully, the best year of our program in terms of scoring and everything else, but it just didn't happen at the perfect time. So can we do that? Can we get to that point of can we produce and earn it? Because that's something that, again, nothing's going to be given to you, so you got to be ready to go in those moments. And I think we have a great group of girls that I think will be ready for that again, and I'm excited to see what just keeps happening.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, but, like, this is your second year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of the time, like, yes, there's one more spot above this, but at the same time, like, the expectation to be there every single year is just, like, almost too much. Yeah, like, what do you think just, like, the future of the program is looking like, and what are you excited for?
I love what it started. I love the numbers. I love that there's excitement for girls to be a part of golf and what we're doing. You know, the controllables that we have so far have been great, and about how we're learning the game and growing in the game and developing our skill set. And again, if we have those attitudes and mindsets, let's see where it goes. Because again, I've played enough competitive golf to know that I can have some phenomenal days and bad days too.
Yeah.
I've been able to compete at a really high level and feel like I compete at a high level, but forget some of the things and have an off day. And I just hope that, again, the outcome is truthfully the young people, in this case the young ladies that we have a part of our program, you know, develop the skills in life, the outcomes that they want to have, the pursuits that they have. I mean, I hope that they create memories for themselves, not just from here, but from our times in the suburban to practices to a meet here or there. I mean, those are the things that our controllables really are. And then again, hopefully put ourselves in those positions by what we do and the habits we create to be in positions to get the one place above, or to be back in that place to have an opportunity, and that we've done what we needed to earn it. Because again, to take for granted an experience that they had last year would be incredibly wrong by our focus to have, is that we just deserve to be back there because we should. You know, we have to go to some regional or district site again this year, and we have to beat the golf course. Can we do it? And hopefully the things that we do together are ready for that.
Yeah. I guess, do you have like any closing remarks? Anything you would want to say?
I mean, I hope that people continue to spread word about some of the cool things that our girls have done. I hope they continue to share the interest level that has been shown, and we continue that, and we continue to turn out great young ladies that represent Northwest and their families and themselves with really, really positive attributes, because there's so many cool things that we get to learn from the game. And again, I'm just very blessed to be able to be in charge of the program, I guess, but to have great people with me to again be a part of and have that shared experience with. So I'm excited for the season. I hope people again follow along and pay attention just like they would with any of the other sports going on in the spring. It sounds like our girls track team's off to a good start. Boys track I think is doing pretty well. And then again, I think tennis and boys tennis is off to a great start. So again, it's just kind of hopefully having that community effort to buy into some of the sports that is not as well attended. You know, basketball and volleyball and football kind of have always kind of that fan hook and that connection. But hey, we're free. You can come out to any golf course you want and watch us and cheer us on. And I'm excited for them to keep competing. And as we get toward the end of April here, we got a lot of meets and stuff coming up. So it'll be good to see. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on the show. Absolutely. Glad we could do it.